I'm Doug Jones, and you have discovered Beyond Trek Podcast.
On a red alert.
So Dag's got wine. I've got wine. Mm-hmm. Big J has his
water.
His water.
Oh, that's what I keep forgetting to get from the store. Prune juice. Thank you, Watney. Thanks for reminding me.
I do what I can.
I just have water. Wait, you guys have wine. What do you have, Renzo?
Are you Worf? I thought you were Cisco. But this is confusing now.
Cisco takes his Ractogino.
But I don't have Ractogino, so best I've got is prune juice. But you know what I do have? This is really good. I got some vanilla cream soda from the store. And what I'll do is I put a couple scoops of vanilla ice cream in in a cup, put the vanilla cream soda in there and let it sit for a little bit, give the ice cream some time to soften up. That's good. It's a good little dessert. Something you guys might want to try.
It's like a melt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. Well,
float.
Right. But we're not here to talk about recipes, unfortunately. Because
unless we were talking about recipes for disaster.
Oh, I like that.
I mean, appreciate that segue. Yeah.
I'm Big J.
Yeah, I'm Watney.
Watney's down there, and Renzo forgot who he is. Is it my turn? Okay. I guess just go ahead and jump right in.
And I'm Renzo, the fan turned co-host.
And I'm Dag, the trivia master, and I'm going to throw out that spoiler alert because we're going to get deep and heavy into this episode real quick.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
Is it time yet?
Oh, yeah. Now it's time. Now we got to do this.
Just time travel to here when you hear me give the spoiler alert.
Oh, God.
The next time you listen to this.
It's like time travel. It's like... let's make it interesting if there's a time travel in there.
I just want to put it out there. Last episode, I totally called it that the reason Georgiou was having this trouble was not because she time traveled and not because she was from alternate universe. It was both. It was doing both that hurt her. And they did that in the first 2 minutes of the episode. I was like, I did it. I called it.
The first 2 minutes of this episode was like my favorite part of the episode. Not to say that anything else was terrible. It's just, me, I'm the time travel junkie.
Well, did you catch... I'm sorry. Go ahead, Watney.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, a couple episodes back, we called it after the Section 31 clip-on guy was like,
clip-on tie guy.
The distance between universes has been expanding, and in that moment when we were in that episode review, you guys were like, oh, her DNA is unraveling or something.
Something's gonna happen to her.
Yeah, at a quantum level, whatever thing is going on with her is bad. So we did call it, so it's kind of cool to get some kind of confirmation of that. Yeah. fan turn.
I love it when a theory works out.
Yeah. So
especially when they're consistent, right? It's internally consistent that we've seen time travel everywhere in Star Trek, and yet every now and then there's some issues with it. Okay. We've seen lots of times where people switch from mirror universe to real universe, and there's some issues with it. Cool. But we've seen very few that do both. So it makes sense that would cause more issues. And they give us the example of that with the Lieutenant Commander Yor character, which I'm sure Dag wants to tell us all about his race. No, you don't want to tell us he's a Beetlejuicean? Oh, okay, fine, I'll tell us.
I do want to talk about that guy once we get to that in Watney's timeline of notes here through the episode.
Sure. Yeah, so we open up to kind of a holographic scan of Georgiou, her eyeballs appear and then her eyeballs and her nervous system, then her skeleton, it kind of layers on. And Dr. Culber, and I don't know the guy's name. What's his name? The Section 31 guy.
Horn-rimmed glasses man.
Horn-rimmed, yeah. Hands of blue.
If he has an actual real name, I don't think I caught it.
Same.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll just call him Clip-On.
Okay.
Clip-On and Culber are debating about Georgiou. He's like, the cure isn't going to be found in this room or even this galaxy. He thinks he's so smart. He pulls up a scan of another former, and he was wearing a TNG uniform.
Early TNG, yeah.
Yeah.
He was, but there's a couple things I've got to say about that. So
let's hear it.
When you're ready to hear Big J's dissertation. Okay. So the clip-on guy said that this, what was his name? Commander Yor?
Yep.
Yor. Okay, so Yor was in the Kelvin universe. In the Kelvin universe in 2379, he went forward in time in that universe in Kelvin, then crossed over to the Prime universe. And you caught the line, clip-on guy said he came from a universe that was caused by the incursion of a Romulan mining ship, which is a very awesome call out for Star Trek 2009. Now, here's the thing that I have with the uniform he was wearing. It looked a little, to me, it looked a little different from the TNG uniforms we saw in the Prime timeline. I would think that because in the Prime timeline, by that time, they were well within wearing the, like the uniform I have on, that First Contact, Dominion War DS9, Insurrection, and Nemesis uniforms. In which, of course, this guy, the size of his neck would never fit in that uniform.
Well, we don't know when he arrived.
But it was 2379 was the point at which he went to the future in the Kelvin universe. So I would think that even if the universes and alternate realities kind of try to realign themselves-ish, sort of, that uniform would definitely have been not in circulation at that time. You would think. So it was great to see it. I really like seeing that uniform again. But if you're going to tell me that he was in the Kelvin universe and it was that year, where in the Prime timeline would have been a completely different setup, I'm not sure. It's like, why would you go with that?
You. Nothing you said is wrong. It's just like, we can't be sure that Kelvin didn't advance more slowly in fashion.
I have a different reasoning.
Okay.
If anybody's interested.
Sure, yeah, let's hear it.
HRG calls him a time soldier. So just because he skipped from 2379 natively and came to the future doesn't mean that he wasn't given other missions to skip around in. And the last mission he was on was sometime in the 2360s of our Prime timeline.
Yeah,
Dag, that's why.
Good job.
Yeah, Dag, that's why I love it that you're on this podcast. The guy didn't think of it that way. That's very plausible. Yeah.
I had a little bit with that too. I was like, wait, 2379? And then I was totally on Renzo's line of thinking, like, maybe uniform development changed. I don't know. But then I'm like, he's a time soldier. He got thrust around.
Look, if we can hand wave away some of the things in this episode, I'm sure we can let them get away with a little bit of uniform fudgery. So.
I just want to point out one fun detail for us, though, right?
Okay.
So Kovich, which I looked up his name, is the name of horned and glasses guy. I don't know when he's called that, but that's his name.
Kovich. Okay.
Kovich, yeah.
Cool name.
Yeah. He's wrong. Yor is not the only example before Georgiou that we know of that did universe travel, like reality traveling and time traveling, because Spock did it too. Spock did it when he went back in time and created the Kelvin universe by doing so.
He's the only one we know.
That actually changes our theory, because our theory was that the universes were expanding and that was causing the unravel, wherein the hypothesis in this scene at the beginning is, oh, she's just cross time and cross universe, and that's why it's doing it. It's not necessarily that, like, it's where she is and how she's gotten there. It's like she's done it.
Well, there is a multiverse.
Yeah,
they pretty much established that there is a multiverse here, because we have our Prime universe. They knew of the mirror universe, and now we just found out that they have knowledge of the Kelvin universe. So essentially, Star Trek has now done what Marvel has done and if you watched any DC shows on the CW, what they've done with the whole multiverse thing. So now we've got a Star Trek.
Star Trek did it first.
Well, right. With well, I don't know.
My evil lighting.
Yeah. With the multiverse, sure, because we have the mirror universe, but this is like a true multiverse because they have acknowledged that. So I still buy the Georgiou being affected, because anyone from any universe that switches over, and then if you add on time travel on top of that, you're still going to have some trouble. So I'm good with the whole thing.
I like the fact that they actually like even pointed out that, listen, the suffering that Yor went through is nothing compared to what Georgiou is going to go to, which implies that the distance or the gap between
the distance is a problem.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That the distance is even greater with the mirror universe versus the Kelvin verse, right? So that's interesting in and of itself.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I love it.
if you look at that TNG episode Parallels, it's a Worf centric episode where he's like traveling back from like a Batleth tournament, and then he starts like jumping from reality to reality to reality. They have established really firmly that Trek is all about the multiverse. So
Yes.
I like that. It makes sense to me.
All right.
So, yeah, I think it was it was kind of like a cannon dump, this whole scene. It was pretty cool too. Like, I like the back and forth, and Culber's really on top of it. And he actually calls him out. He's like, cause is it Kovich?
Kovich, yeah.
Kovich is like, she's going to die. There's nothing you can do. And Culber's like, I'm not going to accept that. So he has the computer run like that's the scenario with new data. And come to find out there is a planet. Although we did learn that the temporal accords are ironclad, meaning even if Georgiou going back would save her, they will not do it. Like, they will let her die, which is fucking crazy that they just like the entire crew time traveled forward, like with these ironclad things. It's like,
Well, I mean, now they're there.
they're there. I mean, like, what are you going to do? But you can't like intentionally break the temporal accords anyway.
Right.
So scene 2, we go to the Discovery's mess hall. Georgiou's like trying to grab her wine, but her hand's like shifting through reality. I don't know. It's fucking weird. Tilly comes up and she's like, if you're having trouble with basic tasks, let us help you. And then Philippa like takes her drink and splashes it on her, or takes her lunch. She insults her, and Michael comes over. You can tell she's super bitter that she's like sick. Like, she's just lashing out at everyone and everything. And we learned that dying Terrans, like, their instinct is to just like cause conflict wherever possible. So she's definitely living up to that.
If I'm going to die, there's going to be scorched earth behind me.
Yeah. So they call everyone together. Not everyone, actually. They go to I think it's on the Discovery. It could be on the Starbase.
It was the Discovery.
It was Discovery. Okay, so
Tell you why I say that later.
They discuss the sphere.
Mhm.
The sphere apparently cares about Georgiou, and so it was able to like algorithmically find a solution, and all paths led to that within its analysis. There's like a 5% chance to save her if she goes to this planet. Saru just kind of says no, like the chain is going to be conducting these military exercises on Argeth, and Vance like kind of says, wait, like, Burnham, what's going on? And like, it was really weird to me that it was Burnham there, not Tilly.
Oh,
Tilly was not in the room. I checked.
She wasn't.
You're right.
I thought the same thing.
So why isn't Tilly there? She's the number one. And they say, like, Vance says at the end, because they ultimately they decide to send the Discovery off on this mission to save the space Hitler. And Vance says that this should be on a need to know basis.
Oh, I think I know why.
And he says that, and Michael's like, yeah, sure. Like, she's the number one, but Tilly's not even in the room.
I think the reason for that, Watney, was Michael being the one who's most intimately familiar with Empress Georgiou. It's not so much this is a confab between the upper ranks, the vice admiral or the admiral, the captain, and the first officer. It's that Michael has more information to give than Tilly would. Tilly really doesn't know Georgiou besides kind of the surface. So
Georgiou wasn't there.
Michael is your subject matter expert.
No, the subject matter. Your subject matter experts were there. Tilly's not a subject matter expert on Georgiou. Michael is.
So I don't think it's strange that Michael was there. I think that is perfectly appropriate, considering that she's essentially the advocate for Georgiou, right?
Mhm.
But I agree with Watney. It is inherently normal for the XO to be at these kinds of meetings, right? Like, can you think of a time where like Picard or Cisco was meeting with an admiral and they didn't have another member of their XO there?
Mhm.
Like, it's kind of strange. I can imagine that the justification be Tilly was manning the con, right? She was holding the bridge down, right? But we've seen Nielsen do it a bunch of times, so it's kind of strange. I don't know why she wouldn't have been there for it. She is a subject matter expert with regards to the sphere data, so she probably would have had useful information there anyways. But yeah, it is strange.
It's just like she's a need to know person. So
My big thing though is this scene showed us just how unprepared Saru seems for command.
yes.
Right? Like
Right.
it looked real bad on him when he's like, you know what? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. We can't do it. We've got these bigger things, the Emerald Chain, blah, blah, blah. And then Vance goes, but I mean, I don't need you. Y'all can go. And so they go. But it undermines Saru a lot. And then he finds himself agreeing with Michael, and they have this little tete-a-tete about like, give me a reason to send you. And she's like, blah. And he's like, okay, good enough for me. That definitely looks bad on Saru, because everybody thought it was a good plan except him, apparently.
And Vance even questions her previous actions, like, you couldn't let her die. What if you have to do that this time? And she's like, I'll do what I have to do. Like, Burnham is so embroiled in like the new timeline that like I think she's really comfortable. But yeah, I totally agree. I think Saru, like, first of all, he started this whole shit with the chain. Vance was like, at any cost, don't do this.
But we're going to do this.
He didn't do that. He did it anyway. He tried to get away with it by doing it by the book, but that's not how the fucking future works.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, like, he gets back and talks to Vance, and Vance kind of just goes, let me give you some advice. He's like, the crew isn't going to look at you the same way if you let Georgiou die. They'll lose their faith in the Federation. They'll lose their faith in you. And you probably will lose faith in yourself if you do too.
Now, it's interesting that they went to all this effort to save essentially Space Hitler, granted.
Right.
But it is a very Starfleet thing to do, right? I can imagine a situation where Kirk would have put his career on the line again to save Khan if there was a good justification for it. I can imagine a situation where Picard would have gone to save Gul Madrid, even after, no, not Madrid.
Yeah.
Whichever was one that tortured him.
Madrid.
Like, is it Madrid? Okay. I can see these happening. And we see that Cisco does it times as well. So it makes sense. It's very Starfleet. But it's tough to swallow that Saru just was so short-sighted about it. So.
See, I feel exactly the opposite. I was with Saru. I was like, you guys are going to plan another field trip when we have a fleet that is mustering for battle and a fight that you started, and Vance has to oversee that and has to tell that fleet, oh, by the way, the guy who started this fight is on another mission by himself. I thought that Vance looked like he was just a pushover here, letting this one-off mission to go help Georgiou be okay after this fight that Saru and people started. And so I was as soon as like Vance started capitulating to letting them go to the Gamma Quadrant, I was like, excuse me, what?
Oh, so it's like they'll be there.
But at the same time,
who gives a shit?
if I want to think a little bit longer out about that, if Vance might be able to use the tactical mindset of Philippa Georgiou in this conflict, then it makes sense. I just wish it had been spoken. There's 4 people in this meeting. All of these people have top secret clearance. Just be like, you know what? She's probably going to be an asset in the fight to come with the Emerald Chain. Do it. Then I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's go.
She's absolutely a precious asset. Like, despite all of her horrendous crimes against other sapient sentient life, she is an asset where she stands at that point. And honestly, like in this episode later, I kind of think that she's like getting used to the Terran, not the Terran, to the Prime, not the Prime, the mirror, the non-mirror
us,
Prime,
right? The Prime universe. You're right.
Yeah,
I think I agree with Dag. What you said was it would have been nice if we had gotten some acknowledgement that Georgiou was an asset. And the way that he's approaching her reminds me of how Admiral Marcus used Khan. So after in the Kelvin universe, so after Vulcan was destroyed and Earth could have had the same thing happen to them, Starfleet goes scouring for militarizing and just, pushing things up. So they happen to come across Khan, and basically who was more or less the Hitler of his time, and said, listen, we need your smarts. We need your attitude. You've got to toughen us up and help design these weapons in this ship. So, but that was explained. That was explained that Khan was used as an asset in the Kelvin universe, whereas Georgiou, it wasn't explained that way. We get that, and that makes more sense now that you guys say it, but would have been nice if they would have made some acknowledgement to it. And the other thing with Vance going along with this stuff the way he is now, I think that Discovery and his crew have proved themselves useful and valuable, and that he's probably learned to not be such a hard ass on them. And probably if Discovery thinks they should go here, then they probably need to go there, and I'm going to let them go. So he's really loosened up on them last couple episodes.
Honestly, I think we never gave him credit. I think like every time Saru decided to do something, he's like, oh, Vance isn't going to let us do this. Vance isn't going to let us do this. But every time they actually go to him, he's been very permissive. He's been very reasonable. Yep. I think we're not giving him credit.
I agree. And I think we've thought like that Saru gets more credit than he should a little. Like he's struggling.
Yeah.
Absolutely in command, because now his leadership is telling him, like, you have taken these paths that are not what we want. And Vance has he's managing a bunch of cowboys. Like he has to be able to like adapt to things that aren't Federation by the book. Like back when the book like was super thick and heavy and like shook the table when you dropped it, that's where they come from. But now it's like, oh, the book's a little bit smaller and there's not a lot of people, so why would we have like a bunch of fucking rules? Like just be a decent person and stop using those fucking like sayings like needs the many, needs of the few. Like you could tell like Saru it was kind of like cringe. It was like a little outdated in the room when he used that.
Well, and that harkens back to what they said in Unification. They've learned how to outgrow axioms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So we cut to.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say real quick. And Discovery's crew was coming from a time where that book was being written wasn't so large. Like we've said in prior episodes of our podcast, was that was the cowboy era of Starfleet. Mm-hmm. So sorry, Wani.
It's all good. We go over to the gym where Georgiou is punch, punching up the bag, and
like she's shadow boxing an ex.
Yeah, she's clearly like trying to burn off her death anxiety. And like there's a lot that kind of goes on in this scene, but basically like Georgiou wants to fight Burnham to the death. Like she wants to die as a Klingon, which when you think about it, like the Terran Empire is really just like a bunch of Klingon mentalities. That's really what it is.
She is Empress of Kronos, so it is one of her many titles.
She's got a summer home there.
And they like, I like this thing that Sonika does in acting. She like whisper yells.
You know? Yes, I know what you're talking about.
She's like, you can't go there and do that. She's like, like it's really weird to me that they're alone in this room whisper yelling at each other. Like it almost hurts my ears.
If you would have told me tonight that Watney was going to be doing ASMR with us, I would have told you you're full of shit. But here we are.
Stay tuned for the after show.
You deserve to live, Georgiou. We have to go to this planet together.
That scene
kill you right now. I'm not gonna do it.
That scene was generally pretty awesome.
It was pretty good. It was like
the fight choreo was good
and shit. Yeah. Yeah. And Burnham like doesn't back down from her. And then she hands her this like little monitor that Culber wanted to put on her that monitors her condition. Programmable matter. You can do anything.
Is that what that was? I missed. I guess I looked away. I kind of missed the reasoning behind the Fitbit that he gave her. So
just the health monitor is what she said, but it's going to be a Chekhov's gun because they put too much effort into showing us that, and then it literally never comes up again. Like it's never relevant again. So
in this episode, yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
It is actually Renzo.
There's one thing where she's like, "Oh, you decided to wear it or something, right?" But
no, it was not to jump too far ahead, but it was when she arrived where she was going. She covered it up in her outfits, no one would see it.
Right, but she's still wearing it, right? But
yes,
there's too much effort put into that scene for that not to be relevant again, I think. But yeah.
Right.
Anyways, that scene was pretty awesome. And then we hit the opening credits, right?
Yep. Opening credits, pretty as always. Then we pop over to scene 5, which is we're in the corridors and Georgiou is like telling everyone goodbye, I guess. And it's kind of heartfelt, but also not, but also it is. Like Tilly hugs her. Saru like and her have a moment like I've learned a lot from you, and in my universe we were the prime and you were the mirror. I thought that was kind of cool because it's like another perspective.
Did you see the look on Georgiou's face when after Tilly hugged her? She really looked like she was about to get a little teary-eyed there. that hug really hit her. If you didn't catch it, go look at that again. Look at Georgiou. She's really feeling something there.
Michelle Yeoh is an amazing actress. So she was able to show like a very quick brief second of like, I just want to hug you back. And then like, get off me. How can you do this to me kind of thing. She was really quick on that transition and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure that the mirror universe is probably very devoid of any genuine affection.
Yeah.
When you're not trying to kill someone when you're sleeping with them or have some ulterior motive or something, I don't imagine that anything like that is really a thing, or is so rare that you actually deep down long for it and don't realize you do. And that's why Georgiou cracked a bit there with that hug. And you're right, showed some emotion there, but recovered herself.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think there's more going on than we know of. And that's what I like about it is it's a show, not a tell.
Yep.
And that's what I really like about the character. So besides all of her deeds.
She's so quippy too. Like she's got the best lines of the season. I keep saying this.
At the beginning when Tilly walked up and she was like, look, it's Saru's latest command blunder. I was like, wow, you just summed up our last 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
He has the best lines. Like it's amazing to me.
She gets really meta. It's great. Mm-hmm. So they say goodbye because like they don't know if she's going to find what she needs to survive, and she probably will die on the planet if they don't. So her and Michael like blip off with these fucking personal transporters. Like, how do they know where they're going?
Oh, Watney, that reminds me when we were talking about that scene with Vance and Michael and Saru, were they on the Starbase or the Discovery? And the reason I said they were on Discovery was because at the end of that meeting, Vance teleported out. So if they were on the Starbase, he wouldn't have had to teleport anywhere. So yeah, that was why. I don't know that how do they know where they're going with those things? I think the personal transporters probably keyed into their brains or their mind.
Ugh.
So on the episode of The Ready Room that aired after Unification 3, there was a spotlight on one of the prop masters, and he got to be in charge of the new communicator choreography. So basically, if you tap it, so there's a gesture, like if you want your tricorder, you like swipe out. So that gives you your tricorder. If you want your pad, that's backwards. Swipe out for pad. If you want your tricorder, you take your hand under the comm badge and you flip it out like a tricorder. So that's the tricorder gesture.
Mhm.
So pad, tricorder, tap it once, and you bring up a map, a transporter map that lets you select a destination, and tap it twice to go home, whatever home destination you programmed into it. That's what he said.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay. So
BJ, think of it
Like
this
a
way.
home destination.
yeah, like the double tap is the home, like your home screen. When you're on your browser, you've got a home page.
BJ, they
That's
didn't
fine,
just
but go ahead.
go ahead. No,
How do
first.
you like? I get that there's like a tether to the home, whatever, probably.
Mhm.
But how do you tell it to get where you want to go in the first place?
I don't know.
I have a good explanation.
Okay, what
for
is
this,
it? What
actually.
is it?
Think of it this way. The thing is also a pad. This thing is also a computer. That means you're programming your missions into it in advance, right?
Nope.
So it's not like you just double tap and it just takes you wherever. No, you've already planned these things out. They're not impromptu.
I don't
They knew they
know,
were going to
man.
this planet for days. They had to travel there, or rather hours. They had to travel there so they could pre-program where it was going to take them when they got there.
So that's an instance of neither showing or telling.
Sure.
If
Agreed.
that's the case, and we are left to assume it's space magic, which takes out
Yes.
the joy of the technobabble and the technology of the time. Like the reason you got this incredibly disturbing scene in the motion picture with a transporter accident is because it was a technology you had to use yourself and perfect. That's not an option anymore. Like because they
mean,
basically
Yeah.
bye.
They're 850 years removed from that, right? So the only person who's having trouble with their personal thing is Linus. Linus can't seem to get where he wants to go, but nobody else is having trouble with it. So they just tell it, take me to the ready room when I double tap. If I go double tap +1, do this, right? You pre-program where you want it to go.
The transporter that was once something that like Bones wouldn't even use and that Crusher hated, you know, like was once something that kind of irks you just on how it functions and what it does to you, has now been reduced to like a double tap on your comm badge.
Think of it as the advancement of cell phones, right? If you told people 30 years ago that they could have a mobile phone, they would not have been surprised. If you would have told people 30 years ago that they would have a mobile phone that was also a computer that could have more computing power than like the Apollo missions and could carry 10,000 books at once, they would have been like, holy shit, right? Here we're talking about 850 years of travel. So
Sure.
Yeah, I just think it removes like a little bit of like the impetus of the technology.
agreed.
What if the reason Miles O'Brien is so widely worshipped in the future is because he pioneered this personal transporter technology so that standard operations officers and chiefs could do real work and not stand behind consoles and deal with people all day?
Yes. Okay.
All right.
I'm
Perhaps.
feeling that glare. I'm sorry. I'll
There's
take
no
it back.
glare.
I'll
There's
take
no
it
glare.
back.
I get that technology has advanced, but like it'd be good if it advanced and it was like explained how it works. Because everyone in Trek likes to say this is how the warp core works. So the dilithium equalizes the matter antimatter reaction in the warp core, and without dilithium, like now transporting, like there's no buffer, there's no like shit to talk about with that. It's just gone.
I think it's a case of let's show the tech in action first, then later, if we have to, we can try to figure out how to explain how it works. So I get that. You're in the writing room, you come up with this brilliant idea. Let's have these personal transporters, and they tap it twice and they beam out. That's awesome. Yes, let's do that. Now, how does it work? And then, it's like, fuck if I know. It's going to look cool on screen. Do we have to explain it right away? No. Okay, let's go with it.
It's probably hyper accurate because it's picking off of like probably your life sign and the comm. So like I get that there's probably less mistakes, but a lot of what like Trek fans are used to is like,
I'd wager they're also networked into the system as a computer of the ship, right? Like there's probably a good reason why it's talking to the ship's computer. It preps things that way.
Yeah, I don't believe the personal transporter is a transporter in and of itself. It's just it's sent to the network of the ship, and it says beep beep, and it registers who's this user. Oh, it's this user. What's the command? Command is home. All right, activate the transporters on the ship or the station and send them to that home designation. Now, if you could probably do like a relay of transporters, but all I think the personal transporter does is it customizes and personalizes a site-to-site transport.
Okay.
Without having to call somebody.
That would make a lot more sense, and I would really like that. I like that a lot.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep moving. So the pair beam down to Danis. Is it 5?
I thought it was 5. Danis 5. Yeah.
Danis 5. They just Danis.
I think
they keep saying. So it's like Burnham and Georgiou are back on this desolate desert wasteland, like they were at the beginning of Discovery, which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, the desert wasteland was the beginning of Discovery. This one's Hoth. They're like on a snowy wasteland.
They're in a hostile climate together.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So we hop over to engineering where Adira and Stamets are working on the algorithm together. He comes in and tells them like, hey, like you kind of messed up this little part. And they're like, no, we didn't, or no, I didn't. And then Stamets is like, yeah, you did. And then we learn that Adira is really upset because they're missing Gray and they really don't want to be missing them and are missing him. And it's kind of like a little heartfelt moment. And then the algorithm like finishes. So they go to get Saru.
I mean, I feel bad for them, right? They had gotten used to having Gray as an angel over their shoulder. And then suddenly he's gone and they are just like back on their own. And that's got to be very unsettling.
I would think so. Yeah, it seems like it because Gray, to me, and I agree with what you were saying, was like a guiding force or at least a comfort. So now he appears to not be around much.
I'm sure that'll be part of Adira's growth.
Yep.
We hop over to the corridors where Book and Saru are chatting. Book is like, hey, I want to talk to you about the Federation. I want to help out. I'm really good at piloting and engineering. And he's kind of like confirms some intel with Saru about the chain. And Saru is like encouraging, but also kind of roadblocky. Like, I'm sure you'll get your moment. I think he's so insecure right now that he's kind of projecting, or at least putting walls up.
I do hope they put him back in a uniform, though.
What's that?
You mean Book?
Back into a Book. I hope they put him back into a Starfleet uniform.
Yes.
I think
as long as he doesn't get a rash.
Yeah.
Like he did last time. But yeah. Well, I think he would work better as being, I don't know. I like seeing him more roguish. I think if they suit him up in a Starfleet uniforms, it's going to take away something from the character. So
I like him kind of like consulting.
Yeah,
he's a consultant. I want him to be a consultant, and he's coming in with intel and doing his own thing, and he's like helping out, and you can tell he's really like, come on, let me help you. Like, I'm into this.
Or if he does put on the uniform, just like leaves the jacket unzipped or something.
Yeah.
To maintain a level of cool.
No matter what, he'll be stylish. Book is very stylish.
Yes.
So we hop down to Danis again, where Philippa and Burnham are like chatting in the snow. They're like bantering and saying, no, you mirror me more than you like me. No, you. Like, there's lots of weird shit between them, but like because they like cared about each other in their original universes, like it's just a lot of baggage. There's kind of some cool visual editing that goes into like the reveal of this old guy. He just like appears behind them. He's sitting in a chair reading a newspaper. The newspaper says Emperor Georgiou's death or something, and it's like tomorrow's paper. Oh yeah, it's Dag's background.
Yeah, dies a horribly painful death.
And that newspaper is super cool. And I just want to point out a couple of Easter eggs about it before we move forward into what he talks about. So number one, There is a column in there that talks about the USS Janolan being reported missing. That is a reference to this TNG 6th season episode Relics, where Scotty was found aboard the USS Janolan that had been downed by a Dyson sphere.
Mm-hmm.
There's another article in there that talks about a supernova is threatening the Takan Empire. The Takan was a reference from the first season episode of The Next Generation that I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically we and the Ferengi were fighting over something, and this Guardian showed up and schooled Riker in a little bit of weirdness, and Riker was like, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And okay, that was cool. The paper itself, the Star Dispatch, was the same newspaper that Spock looked up in The City on the Edge of Forever when they were looking at future headlines on what happened to Edith Keeler.
Good call. I didn't catch that one.
If you flip it around to the back, there's actually a picture of the 21st Street mission, which is where Kirk and Spock sought refuge in that episode. And then right below that, and Dag, why am I talking to myself? Okay, I'm gonna give you an image to put over this moment. There's a crossword puzzle. The crossword puzzle is hexagonal boxes, not squares. And if you take that crossword puzzle on the newspaper as it is, rotate it 90 degrees, it looks like a double helix. And there's two black bars that come out that look like they're isolating a base pair sequence. And my guess, because he's saying in that exact moment in that scene where he flips that paper around, everything you need to see is right here in black and white. I'm guessing that he's trying to subtly call out that there's a base pair sequence on Georgiou that can be repaired somehow that would help her acclimate to this universe.
Okay.
And that's newspaper trivia with Dag.
Very good.
Did you get anything else on that, Renzo?
So the Takan Empire one was my big one. I thought that was incredible, just as a neat throwback to like a race that we know was incredibly powerful, really ancient. Like they moved stars around just for good measure, and yet a supernova fucked up their day, and this guy knows all about it, right?
Not only does he know about it, but his newspaper suggests that all of these events are happening out of sequence. So he's definitely nonlinear.
Yeah, they're all happening at once, kind of like like he's one of the prophets, one of the wormhole aliens. Time is not linear.
Or his first name Carl starts with a Q.
Don't do it.
It's not on the subtitles.
Don't you do that?
It's not on the subtitles. I mean, he doesn't have to be a Q, right? We've had plenty of non-corporeal.
You know how cool that would be?
Don't make me list them again.
There's a lot in Trek, right? Like we have a history. This isn't something novel for Trek. So anybody who's like, why are we having weird, mysterious, powerful alien things? It's like, it's just Trek. That's just what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like this actor too. I loved him in CSI. He's great.
Listen, he was having a good time there in the snow, just smoking a cigar, looking at the newspaper. Like that seems like a good way to spend your day.
In his bowler hat.
What do you call a cute portal? What do you call a cute portal?
What?
Adorable.
Oh, oh my God.
He's the most comedic Q we've ever met.
I
love him.
I get aggravated with just the like, let's go in circles. Annoyingly, like when someone says answer directly and you still say the question is the answer, like that really just annoys me personally. I get that it's like supposed to do that.
Listen,
so
if you tried working a
validating writers, it didn't. If what?
If you had to work a day in my job, you'd probably murder someone. Like I ask people, like, did you change anything? Oh no, definitely not. Oh, but the mod times show you did. So did you change anything? Well, no, we just adjust. Tell me again what you just adjusted. It's these circular conversations with people all the time.
Yeah.
So,
it sounds like you work in IT.
Yes.
Because I know that conversation. I've had lots of that conversation.
So let's finish this conversation. What's in the newspaper? Or where do you go from here?
What's in the door?
Where I don't remember where we left off talking about the newspaper.
Well, we introduced Carl, and I said he was annoying, but you guys really liked him.
I mean,
I didn't say I liked him.
There was Easter eggs in the paper,
right?
And so he basically tells Georgiou, like, this is your chance. And she's like, this is my chance. And so she's like, I'm going to go and you're going to stay. And Michael's like, okay, I guess. So then Georgiou walks through the door. Or no, she doesn't do it yet. She does it in a couple scenes. So scene 9 is in the ready room of the Discovery, where we get to see the distress call from the nebula, where the song distress call is coming from, where like the origination of the burn is from. We meet Dr. Issa from the KSF Kayef.
Think you're close.
Distress call. She's Kelpian. So Saru's like, Kelpian.
Kiev. I thought I was hearing Kiev out of her when she was.
Yes, it was definitely with a TH. Yeah,
Kiev. Yeah. Okay. It was like a ship of Kelpians that were sending a distress signal. They said that there was like another ship coming to save them, and they were like at a dilithium nursery.
Dilithium nursery.
That's a cool little tidbit right there, because if that's the source of the burn and they were at a dilithium nursery, that's cool.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that existing.
What is that?
Right?
We've never heard of it before. What we've heard of before were dilithium mines and dilithium crackers and dilithium extractors, but never a dilithium nursery.
Well, I was talking about this with my son Nacho earlier today, and I told him I'll be a little disappointed if it looks like they're going towards the burn being an accident. And I told him, I said, I really just think it would be kind of the cheap way out to take this whole cataclysmic event, and basically it was an oops. They were doing something in this nebula, trying to farm the dilithium, hit the wrong button, something went wrong, and then boom, dilithium in the galaxy goes inert suddenly. And if it ends up being just one big accident, I think I might be disappointed.
So I mostly agree with you, with one possible twist on it, right? Where I think it would be pretty awesome. Okay. So there's this really neat thing that was going on during the atomic bomb, like invention in the United States during the Second World War. They were very afraid during the early days that the bomb itself would create a fireball hot enough to ignite the upper atmosphere. They weren't sure. They thought it was a definite possibility. They were like, hey, it's a coin flip. It's like 1 in 4 chance it'll ignite the upper atmosphere if we do a test. And they didn't know. And it was one of those things that Oppenheimer was just really fucking nervous about, with good reason. Turns out the math did not back that up. So they tested it anyways, and they went ahead with it. But for a lot of the development, they were like, we could end all life on Earth just by making this thing. And they were still moving ahead with making it. So it could be something like that. It could have been an accident of like a weapon system that just, in this case, it did do the thing that they were afraid of.
Okay.
And I think if that's the twist, this whole like, now I am become death, the destroyer of subspace for the galaxy, that would be pretty cool for me. I think that would be a cool twist.
All right. When you say it like that, I think I could get on board with it being something that ended up like we said, it was a test. It could have gone either way, and it went the wrong way.
As long as it's not SB19 and they can get the Vulcans to like relax. Sorry, the Romulo Vulcans to just relax. I think I'm good with it.
It would be cool if it was like there was a infiltrator on the ship and they like caused
that
the
works.
burn.
Yeah. Like somebody subverted a technology that was being developed in there to make dilithium, and instead it just kills dilithium galaxy wide.
Like a temporal agent who was pissed off that they got stranded in this universe in this time after the temporal accords were signed, and they wanted to see it end.
Or someone from Andromeda prepping the galaxy for invasion. Who knows?
The Kelvins. The Kelvins. Bring back the Kelvins.
Yes, the Kelvins are back.
The Reapers.
Oh.
Sorry. So they have the prefix codes to the ship that is stranded there to figure out what's going on its sensors.
Which I just want to say is really cool, actually, that they're bringing back prefix codes as a relevant thing. We haven't really heard about that since like TNG.
Right.
And it makes sense that Discovery would have like a big ass fucking database of like every ship's ever's data, like date and prefix code at this point. That's really cool.
Yeah, so we go back down to Danis, where there's like a riddle going on with Carl. He's being extra vague. Georgiou says she's going to take the chance and go through the door. It's a portal. She gives Michael one last glance, nods at her. They have a moment, and then she walks through. and she's back in the mirror universe.
And in the past, in the mirror universe.
And in the past, she asked for a debrief by Tilly because she's still
Killy.
Emperor. Killy.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, and what, like, what's my itinerary or something? She's like, well, we're about to Christian the car on. And she's like, okay, so I know where I am now. And like, they bring up Lorca. They talk about Michael's betrayal and how Georgiou is like, I'm going to set things right this time or something.
Right. Yeah. So back in the mirror universe in the past, in the mirror universe where there is no shortage of eyeliner and
Literally
shadowy eye makeup.
Well, it's because everything has to be dark there. Remember, their eyes are more sensitive to light.
moody.
I just find it interesting that everyone there is got either eyeshadow or eyeliner, except for Stamets.
That is totally consistent with the mirror universe from TOS, though.
That's true.
It was a fashion sequence. It was a fashion statement for the 2250s, 2260s in the mirror universe.
Right.
Don't know why, but it's totally consistent with Mirror Mirror.
You're right. You're right. Maybe he doesn't have the complexion to pull it off. Like it would make him look like raccoon eyes.
What I'm upset about is you're not allowed to have curls.
No curls.
Universe. No curls. Like Tilly's hair straight. The only person here whose hair is bomb is Obosakun, and I love her as like the head of
Chief
the
of
head of the
security.
guard here. She's so great. I love her so much.
Dude, she's fucking badass.
Yes,
we gotta talk about that.
Do they not have perms in the mirror universe? Yeah. Why is everyone's hair straight? Never mind. Don't get me on that. I shouldn't be talking about people with hair because I have no hair and it's a sensitive topic.
Michael Burnham has curly hair, you guys.
Not in the mirror universe.
You're muted, Dag.
Yes, in the mirror universe.
Yes, in the mirror universe, she's got curly hair. She's got her old like season 2 hair.
Really short.
Yeah, it's like the kid in Play High Top or whatever, just a shorter one.
Wow, there's a reference. If you're listening to this and you remember Kid and Play, can you just drop like a like and a subscribe, please?
You guys, this is before your time. You guys are too young for oh my God, you have to Google it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
You guys are too young for this.
So what did you guys think about us like suddenly being back in the mirror universe?
So I'm gonna be honest, I like it, but I would not have guessed that for this episode because I saw Terra Firma and I was like, okay, so they're gonna go to some planet and it's gonna be hence Terra. No, Terra Firma is very particularly a Terran Empire, and I just didn't see it coming. I don't tend to watch the episode preview, so I didn't see it, but it's pretty badass. I like coming back for a short while. I don't want to spend the whole season here.
Me too. I don't watch the previews, so I was surprised, and I never would have thought that we would get a mirror universe episode again now. And
maybe this is where they're setting up Section 31 as the interdimensional time traveling police force.
Like a multiverse police force. Okay.
I would totally be down.
Maybe that's what Carl is.
Because that's what
Carl is a Time Lord.
He's a time police. Yeah. Because that's what they're doing with Loki. Is they're setting him up for that in the Loki show that was just revealed. So I would totally love it if Star Trek just jumped on that bandwagon early and started doing the interdimensional time travel police.
Is that what it is? Loki is like a multiverse cop or something like that?
Sort of.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're right. I would like it.
When we do our MCU podcast, we can talk more about that.
So we could do a DC podcast too, because the Legends of Tomorrow are essentially that too, right?
I don't know what any of that is.
Oh, it's from the Arrowverse, but yeah, it's just
DC.
another group. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you do. Come on, Batman, Superman, all that.
Likely story.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Renzo. Well, but the Legends were time travelers. They didn't cross other universes until they had to with the crossover. But
yeah. But point was,
Crisis
everybody's
on
got
Infinite Earth was awesome.
Yeah.
Crisis on Infinite Earth was spectacular.
That was a year ago this month.
Yep.
I'm just saying, I think it's pretty clear that a lot of universes, a lot of IPs right now are really into that whole, like, let's have a time cop. Let's have like someone regulating time travel a bit. And I think that could be a cool place to take Carl, which totally could be a Doctor Who kind of thing, and take Section 31 Georgiou and do that. That'd be great.
Okay.
What do you think, Wani? You're there stroking the cat, but
You remind me of Spock petting that cat in that one.
Isis, yeah.
Yeah, Isis. What does the cat say?
She just dug her head in my.
Oh,
So we like, I liked it. Like, I wasn't expecting it, and so I enjoy that when something happens, and I'm like, oh shit, we're going back. Like, it's cool to see the continuity of look at this cat.
yeah. That cat is still in the show.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
Right.
should we move on to the next scene?
Yeah, sure. So, we go to the mess hall of the ISS Discovery, and Georgiou's just kind of watching everybody like be fucking idiots. It looks like a frat party. Like people
It
are using
does.
like arm what are they called? It's
I don't know. Some
paint-
arm thing.
paint chamber
paint
thing.
sticks.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the paint sticks.
No, the
Agonizers,
paint
agonizers.
they have like mobile agonizers they're using to like, like it's like arm wrestling, but it's like who
Mhm.
could withstand it the longest, like fucking edgy shit. They salute her and Tilly like introduces her, and we get to see fucking Mirror Burnham.
And we can
Yes.
see some Kelpians. We see a whole bunch of Kelpians
A
here.
lot of
getting into trouble.
Kelpians. Yeah. So but first Mirror Burnham walks up with that swag. Oh,
Yeah, Mirror
Like-
Burnham is badass.
I was so stoked to see her because we've heard about her for like a long time, and now we finally get to fucking see her, and she's a baddie.
Yeah, she owns it.
Yeah.
I like how I think it was Rice was tossing a dagger at Nilsson to get
Reese?
the apple off her head.
Reese.
Is it Reese? Is Reese how it's pronounced?
Reese.
And then a little cameo by Hannah Cheeseman, who played the robot
Arium.
in the last episode that Arium was in. So Hannah Cheeseman as her human self in this backdrop of this scene.
Okay.
You know what I really like? I don't like the gold plated, like detailed. I like the hard, like epoxy, like shiny, like black, shiny.
Like the one
uniforms,
Owusu-kun
like
and everyone else is
Owusu-kun
wearing?
wears.
Okay.
What is I love that uniform. I'm enamored with that uniform. I don't know what it is about it, but it's so fucking slick. It looks so good.
And now Dag is on Etsy trying to find you one to buy.
Yeah.
We can all match. We
Do
can
they have
have a
that in the-
mirror co-host. Like mirror co-host.
Do they have that in the 3XL tall? I'll take one.
That's like my fit. Like I'm a huge, like I love wearing black. I look like I want to rob a bank like all the time. And so
Especially now that we're wearing masks everywhere we go,
Mhm,
look like you're going to rob a train. Okay.
mhm.
True.
Well, yeah. So the fucking black uniforms are so good. The hard shell, I just think they look good. And the one where
Mhm.
the mirror Detmer wears with the little like details on it, you can see it in the ceremony, really close. Anyway, so Georgiou's all like in the mess hall. She's like, "Long live the Empire!" Blah blah blah. So they go to like this private throne room or something where there's like the after party of the party.
Hold on. Before they do that, though, we do want to point out the Kelpian abuse that went on there. Like, it was very clear that anybody could have the Kelpian slaves killed just on a whim, right?
Oh, that's
Like,
what I mean. This is like where they go and like this is where Georgiou is sitting on her chair. and
Oh,
Georgiou's
yeah.
right next to her, and then there's like some other more senior
Oh, okay.
officers, like with
Sorry.
Kelpians serving them.
I assume that was just like chairs at the edge of the same party room. Or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, it's like a more quiet area to talk about betrayal.
Yeah.
So we get to fucking see Saru, Mirror Saru, who's worked his way up to the Charon, I guess.
They're still on the Discovery at that point, right? But
Yeah, he's-
Saru
but-
was
but he's in the upper echelon.
yes.
Right.
Well, Saru was the personal slave to Burnham.
Hmm.
So, or
Yeah.
yeah,
He was Georgiou's. Georgiou gifted him to Burnham, but then took him back because Burnham was going to try to have him killed during the frat party in the cafeteria. And Georgiou, to me, her entire interaction from arrival on the Discovery and up to and including the christening of the Chiron, to me, she seems like that she said she probably missed the mirror universe and wanted to go back, but something about her mannerisms and how she's acting was almost like, okay, now that I'm here, these people are barbarians. This is wrong. And like showing mercy on Saru, because now she doesn't look at him as lunch. She's looking at him as an actual sentient person. And so Georgiou really is coming off as like, I actually don't like being here. This is wrong. These people, the way they're acting and everything. Was I the only one that got that?
No. From the moment she was talking to Killy when she first arrived, I was like, she's out of place.
Yeah. But she's only been gone from there for
2 years.
What, 2 years?
That's a long time.
Well,
and she had kind of like grieved that because like everyone, like the whole ship exploded and everyone like powerful in her empire was gone. So she was like moving on. What are you saying, Renzo?
Well, I was just going to say, right, I think this is a good example of what rehabilitation can happen when you're surrounded by good people, right? So yes, she is Space Hitler, but the people that she surrounded herself with, though not necessarily of her choice, have made her a better person. And when she's put back in her old stomping grounds is when it shows, right? It's essentially like the prison that she's been in, which would be Discovery, has been like a rehabilitation time for her. She's learned to value creatures that are non-human like Saru, and now it's starting to show. And Burnham from Mirror Burnham is picking that up real quick and probably is what's pushing her along to try and do this coup.
Okay.
Like when Mirror Burnham accuses Georgiou or the Empress of like getting soft and weak, she's right, because this is the Georgiou that traveled back in time and has become, from an Empire standpoint, soft and weak.
Yep, she has. So that's, well, I'm glad I wasn't the only one. So she's definitely setting herself up for something bad to happen because she's acting a little flaky.
She's like, it's a very, very strong juxtaposition between her and Burnham. I have in my notes, Burnham is all weird and cool, I guess, because she's just like owns the place. We learn later, like her motivations are like really weird, but she's totally like in charge. Like my mom is the boss emperor. So like, whatever, I'll do whatever I want. Why don't you guys knife fight?
There was a delightful scene where Georgiou asks Burnham, "Aren't you sleeping with Lorca?" Like,
yeah, she's like, "I did, but I got bored."
Yep.
That was great.
Yeah, which we learned in the first season that Lorca had been like grooming her, so she was like definitely getting like fucked up from that whole situation.
She was getting good Lorca dick, okay? So she got convinced to do real noxious things as a result.
I thought this was a children's show.
Lucius Malfoy.
Yep.
And wasn't he in Hook too? He was like a pirate or something in one movie. That actor.
Was he?
Okay. Maybe.
We deviate from your regularly scheduled program as.
Or this is beyond Trek. So let's talk about Harry Potter a little bit.
All ferociously Googling right now. So
I think the problem is Watney is up too late.
Yeah, this is an evening podcast, not
our usual Saturday.
Yeah, after a long week. So anyway, so Burnham's cool. We see Kelpian slaves like, I'm gonna eat your ganglia, like fucking weirdos. We see Saru. Saru almost gets thrown into the butcher, and Georgiou saves him. And then we cut to her quarters where Saru's like brushing her hair, and she's like, "Your friend was going through the what's the fucking
Bahari?
Bahari, yeah.
going through the Vahari, and he's like,
Fine.
you shouldn't coarse your tongue and use our language. I'm surprised you even know that at all. And she basically woos Saru into telling her what he knows about Lorca and Michael, which for some reason he knows fucking everything about their plan. I guess because like Lorca, like Saru was Burnham's slave, so he obviously overheard everything.
Okay.
So she gets up and like gets ready. She puts her cloak on and she has like a fucking cool crown. It reminds me of like Warhammer, like God Emperor visage. It's very cool.
Watney, did you ever watch Downton Abbey?
No.
Okay, so there's this cool thing that you see in that show where like the serving class, the people who just like wait their tables and stuff, are walking in and out of private conversations. They walk through really personal things all the time, and nobody even looks at them because they are essentially servants, right?
Mhm.
Same thing for somebody like the Mirror Saru. Nobody even notices he's there because they don't give a shit about his existence. So he's going to hear all the juicy gossip.
Mhm.
So he's a valuable source for that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
and Georgiou's like, I'll keep you alive if you keep me informed. And they kind of
Right.
hit off like a partnership, which is cool. I think it like will help her adjust to being back in the mirror universe. So we cut to Georgiou walking through the hallways, and we come up upon Burnham leaning against a wall, and Owo and Reese are knife fighting. Fuck yeah, love a good
Very
knife
sharks
fight.
and jets. Very sharks and
Yeah,
jets.
and Reese is like licks the knife. They finally get some good lines for these actors who are playing like the bridge crew. They're finally giving, and it happens to be in the mirror universe, but yeah, he licks the knife, and then he's fighting Owo for her job as security chief of the Charon.
Mhm.
Owo basically gets him on his back and like beats the shit out of his face. Doesn't even need a fucking knife. Like, I love her.
There's a great exchange that Georgiou points out there is that like Reese didn't even want that job. He just wanted the prestige of the job. And she's like, Owo fights for loyalty. That's why she'll win. And I just thought that
Yeah.
was a cool exchange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just basically like puffing her chest up in front of Michael to be like, I can smell you.
She left it all out on the field
Yeah.
in that fight.
Yeah. We cut to well, first of all, Reese is like bloodied on the floor. They keep him from dying. And we cut over to the ceremony where
The transition to the ceremony was really cool though. The whole like the alarm sounds and suddenly Burnham's like, kill each other on your own time. We've got shit to do. That was pretty cool.
we've got shit to do. Gonna go sit in a fucking theater.
Yeah, the Emperor's
And
not gonna be
then-
kept waiting for you two or something, right?
And then we're going to listen to Mark from Rent give his last musical.
Yeah.
It's right.
Yes.
Yeah, Anthony Rapp, if you're ever listening to this, we still love you.
He's amazing.
Very much. Very much. You're great. There's like silk rope dancing, and there's like a tale like that they're saying of like the Emperor, I'm assuming, like in all of her
Yes,
story.
like
And
a tale of Georgiou's life.
Everyone's wearing like eyeliner, you know. The ceremony is to Christian the Charon, and they open like the viewfinder, and there it fucking is. And then Georgiou like goes and stands up, and like it's in her halo. Yeah, it's so cool. I love that shot.
It was, yes, and the halo, like the eye of Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
The power of the mini sun. It's fucking cool.
The Charon is a terrifying ship too. So
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
It is.
Oh yeah, it's behind me.
I want to, which is a ridiculous design, but it's cool. So I want to talk about, and Watney, if I'm jumping ahead, I want to talk about the thing that the assassination attempt that Stamets tried on Georgiou. Are we
Go for it.
Okay. So if you recall, season 1, when we had our first incursion in the mirror universe, there were 3 episodes in the mirror universe. I think it was perhaps the second one or third one of that the mirror Stamets was thrown out of the hole in the floor thing, the throne room floor opens up and it's above that big reactor, and he got thrown down in that. So with this being in the past, being before that, Stamets tries to assassinate Georgiou. He gets stabbed in the neck. So technically, either he's supposed to survive, or Michael accelerated or changed the plans on the assassination because of Georgiou acting soft now. So where do you guys think that part is going? I know I'm kind of a nut for continuity, but
you're right.
I think that's a good insight. Like in the original timeline of that universe, Stamets got caught doing something stupid. It wasn't an outright assassination attempt, and that's why he got solitary before he got pushed into the solar. Now they've stepped up the timeline. I don't understand why Owo didn't like shoot him at range while he's walking up on the Emperor, but I also suspect that maybe everybody there is like, is she going to see it? Is she going to see it? Is she going to see it? Is it part of the play? What's going on here?
Right.
So I thought that was cool. But yeah, Jay, spot on. Great observation.
Thank you.
To be fair, though, we've seen people get hurt more than that and then survive just fine, right? So we're not completely sure he's dead. Honestly,
Yeah,
he might survive it.
Totally get that. I'm just pointing out that
You're right.
they need to have had him survive and find some reason to give him a second chance or keep him around, which being in the mirror universe, I kind of find that hard to go with.
He answered that bit in the first season. He was like, he was the astromycologist who was designing the weapon that powers the Charon, right?
Which
Okay.
is
that part-
destroying the mycelial network.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have a good reason to keep him alive or bring him back to life, whatever the hell they do. But
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yep. So that was me, my observation.
No,
Okay. Let's move on.
that was a good observation for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
We're actually at the last scene of the episode, which is after the ceremony when like Georgiou, I see you, Michael, in the crowd.
They do their little Terra Firma salute.
Yeah, and Killy stops Michael in the hallway. Like, hello, Captain. Like the way she fucking acted was great. I love the acting there. Killy is so like
Yes.
still Tilly, but only sinister. I don't know. Like it was great. They square up in the hallway, they surround Michael, and Georgiou's like, tell me what this is really about. It's not about me being weak. What is this about? And Michael's like, you plucked me from a trash heap. I ruled that trash heap. And like Michael resents Georgiou for making her like a tool of her like right hand, basically. But Lorca like honors Michael and like uplifts her. And so that's why they like staged a coup. Mira Burnham is fucking bonkers.
She is.
She's crazy.
Was she seriously had beef about being taken away from her trash heap that she was?
No, I think that's just a metaphor.
Okay. Took her from whatever she was doing and put her in a position where she was more of serving. Like there was always a master to serve, the kind of thing.
Well, she raised her, but
I look at it as kind of a reverse of the serving in heaven or reigning in hell, where I'm not saying that her situation is heaven, but instead of reigning where she was, now she's serving. Maybe, possibly.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's pretty reasonable.
All right.
So I did want to point out one cool thing about the props in this scene, though this is usually Dag that does this, but the sword that they use for this is the same one that they used in the first season, that broadsword that Lorca used. And there's a fun bit of story to it. So Michelle Yeoh, the actress that plays Georgiou, is actually pretty accomplished with martial arts. She has trained for years with the use of swords and weapons, but she had never trained with a broadsword. She had used thinner, lighter rapiers and such. So when they were trying to train her to use the sword or be prepared to use the sword, they needed to give her every minute of time that they could, to the point where she was practicing with it in an airport boardroom because she was waiting for a flight there. And she was practicing in an airport while waiting to get onto a flight.
All she does is swing it around like once.
In this scene, yes, but yeah, there probably more
sword fighting. Woo!
Yeah.
Oh wait, we'll see.
I'm sure the TSA had something to say about that.
I need her to lift it above her head and go, I have the power.
Yeah.
Apparently TSA was perfectly cool with it. It was in LAX, right? Like I'm reading through the story for it, but like they met up with her in the airport. She was going to be stuck there for like 6 hours on a layover. They met up with her. They found the airport security was okay with them using a boardroom for sword practice for a few hours. And cool, but yeah.
But Dag, I think instead of holding the sword over her head, saying I have the power, I was thinking more thunder, Thundercats.
Mirror cats. Where's the eye? Where's it? There's the eye. There's the eye. The eye of Georgiou.
Michael like kneels down all dramatically, like, kill me, do it. And Georgiou does the whole circle thing that she always does with everybody else. She circles her, takes the sword out, and then like just cuts her neck a little bit.
So I loved the duality of this scene versus the scene earlier in the boxing room where Georgiou is asking to be killed by Michael, and here you have Michael asking to be killed by Georgiou, essentially, right?
Yep.
So either give me a good death versus show me you're still strong, right? So it's really cool to see both of those in the same episode.
I agree. I like it. There was something about, I guess, I was kind of freaked out by her a little bit, which is probably the point. The whole black lipstick, the eyeshadow, and just the whole crazy vibe. I thought that was well played.
I'm totally here's an interesting thought process for you.
Okay.
And it's related to the makeup. In the original universe, in the Prime timeline, Burnham was raised by Vulcans and came out of there like very like level sort of emotions in check, and has gone on like sort of a vulnerability arc, learning how to accept that. In this timeline, her makeup was very evocative of what the Romulans wore in TOS, Balance of Terror. So what if in this timeline, the trash heap was really just some Romulan adoption agency that Georgiou pulled her out of?
Okay, all right. Romulan adoption agency. That's good.
Raw for sure.
Chuckle. Raw.
I think Lady Gaga might have that one trademarked.
I mean, this is full of bad romance, so.
So, what did you guys think about the episode overall?
Well, just to finish.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't kill her, but says our future is unwritten. I haven't had enough of you yet. Blah 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 blah. And that's where the episode ends.
I think that was the San in her flashbacks that she was crying over. Do you remember those flashbacks where she's like, San? And I think that is, she had killed Michael in the original timeline and wept.
Yeah.
Now she's like, I want you to be like your Federation self in the next preview.
Okay. All right. I guess I was okay with this episode. I was neither overwhelmed or underwhelmed. I was just whelmed. And the mirror universe kind of, I don't know if boring is the right word to use, but there's just something about it, something about every mirror universe episode that they've had in Star Trek. It gives me the same feeling. It's like it's just hammed up too much. It's overdone. There's just such a exaggeration of every character, almost so much that it's kind of ridiculous. Like, to me, the mirror universe, you almost can't really take it that it's real. It almost seems kind of cartoonish. everyone's evil. Everyone overplays the part. And I just have a hard time with having to accept that the mirror universe is such a mirror that everybody is born at the same time as their prime universe counterparts. Now, whether they die the same, that's not the thing, but they've always implied that all births all happen exactly between the universes at the same time, which might be some cosmic crazy thing. Okay. That being said, the whole thing about the technology level and everything else, and I get their suspension of disbelief, but something about these people and their society and how they do things, I think that having that match for match parallel, like all the way up to anything in the prime universe, like, okay, really? Your people are like this, but yet you're still making these advancements in technology. And I don't know, I'm kind of getting into the weeds on that, but I would have to say that I'm probably not the biggest fan of the mirror universe, because it's just feels like that's the time where everyone gets to overplay. So
I agree with you entirely. The mirror universe, from its very first iteration, was very mustache twirly, like, wahaha, these are the villainous villains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like bad monologues. Remember the scenes at the very end of Mirror Mirror where the Kirk is being thrown like out of the universe or whatever? Definitely ridiculous. Really, really cheesy stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only gotten worse with the more uses of the mirror universe, because a one-off of that kind of thing, realistic, but then 200 years later, the same people were like still being born, like the timelines haven't diverged enough that Mirror Cisco exists, like doesn't exist, or that all these people like have essentially similar lives. Like it's ridiculous. I agree. That being said, I'm okay with suspending my disbelief because I think it makes for good stories, or at least interesting ones, right? And that's enough for me, even if I agree, it is definitely silly. So,
well, the mirror universe isn't a divergence like the Kelvin universe. The mirror universe was always there. It was just a mirror.
mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, we know that they're. Oh.
I really agree with Renzo that if this was like, it was born of the original series, the Mirror Universe, and it was kind of like one-off here and there, but then to have an entire plot of multiple episodes of a series about the Mirror Universe, it starts to feel less like let's pit our characters against this and we'll always win, and more of because we're good and they're bad, and more of like it just kind of like it kind of contaminates the entire story a bit.
Yeah, cartoon villainy, right?
Yes.
Cartoonish, yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of times in Deep Space Nine where they made the Mirror Universe seem like a legitimate possible threat, like coming into our universe and stealing technology, stealing people, kidnapping people. That's legit. That's pretty terrifying stuff. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, those characters were still stupidly cartoonish. Like the intendant, a Worf, ridiculous, and his ship, the Regency One, which was like 17 miles long. Okay, all right, guys, we get it. They're bad. They're evil. Move on. But yeah, it's silly, but it's still fun. I'm fine with it.
Dag, I
Thoughts on the episode?
Give him a sec.
Well, okay. My take on this episode is going to be a little bit different. And while I actually just kind of revel in Mirror Universe episodes because they're fun vacations from, the drama of the prime timelines, the DS9 Mirror Universe episodes were a lot of fun for me. And I like to think that Prime Kirk's influence on Mirror Spock and Sisko's influence on the Terran rebellion is really responsible for driving that wedge in the distancing of those universes. But I don't think this episode actually takes place in the Mirror Universe. I think this is a tapestry thing. Q has sent Georgiou to relive her life, to change some stuff, to see if she gets some kind of cognitive behavioral closure out of it. And she'll come through on the other side with some kind of, maybe some new conviction or something. And there will also be something about how she's adjusted to this universe now. I don't know what that's going to be, but for the purpose of this particular episode, I saw it very much as like a tapestry moment.
I like that angle. I never thought of that, but that's a good one. So I think that I would probably, I don't know if that would really change my opinion on how I feel about. It might make it better if it ends up being like a tapestry thing from TNG. Okay, I could probably go with that. Sure.
I mean, I'm down with tapestry being what's going on, but I still think it's a appropriate depiction of the mirror universe, because like Georgiou is not going like, oh well, that's not how it would have really have happened. Like she's not showing any sort of discomfort with what's going on as being unrealistic for her. She just doesn't welcome the experience the way she used to. So yeah, I'm with you, Dag. I think it makes sense that this would be like a tapestry kind of thing. That makes sense. But yeah, it was good. That's a good approach for it. I like that if that's what they're doing.
All right. Well, that's great. Watney, you want to tell folks where they can find us?
I sure can. You can talk to us online at twitter.com/BeyondTrekPod. So just at BeyondTrekPod. We also have an Instagram at BeyondTrekPodcast, and you can support us online at patreon.com/BeyondTrek. We would love your support there. We also have a YouTube, Beyond Trek Productions, as well as the same for Facebook. So check us out there. Say hi. I love to chit chat with you guys. So, and then we want to give a special shout out to our Patreon and Anchor donators, Stephanie Baker and Jim Cook. And then John from Cygnus-X1.net, who provides the stills for our videos that we reference for you. That's all I got. Like Jay. All
right. Thanks, guys. It is Friday night. So what are we going to do with the rest of our night?
Sleep.
Right? Yes. Watney, I think you need the rest. Among Us. I want to definitely play some Among Us, but
Rocket Week.
What?
Rocket Week.
Rocket League. Ever since it went free to play, I think it just went down the tubes. So
Watney and I are level 1, so we're gonna have to smurf our way through these ranks.
God.
All right.
Hopefully I still got it.
Everyone come back next week, next episode review. There might be wine and Rocket League. Cheers.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your years. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.